Welcome to Menon Thoughts, where technology, life, and growth comes together with purpose. I am Govind Menon, here to walk with you through the challenges of your career and times of healing. This is episode 2 of our Apple ecosystem series. The first one that we had put across was more on why you require an ecosystem if you're a developer. And what is the usage of the ecosystem. This is a continuation video of that. So this one is more on my perspective as a developer as to why I think the Apple ecosystem is working better for me. So before we proceed, I just wanted to put one disclaimer. This is not a tech war. This is not about whether Apple is good, Android is bad, or Android is good, Apple is bad. This is not that. Those videos, there are a lot of them already in YouTube. This is more from my perspective as a developer who has been on both sides, on Windows and Android. Windows Android combination and Mac OS iPhone combination. My perspective why Android ecosystem as such has not worked for me. So 2 years back, I was actually on Mac OS, Mac environment. I had a MacBook Pro, I had an iPhone, I had Apple Watch, trackpad, all the gadgets that they had, including AirPods. But in 2023-24, I was more on Windows and Android. Two reasons. One, the organization which I was in, they had a mandate of using Windows. For 1 year, I was working with an airlines company and they were primarily on Windows, so I had to be on that. At that time, because of the requirements, I had to move to Windows. Plus, because I moved there into Windows, I switched over to Android because the communication was much more easier between the devices compared to an iPhone. iPhone and Windows, they don't play along well. The second part of it was basically the medical expenses that my daughter had, so I had to sell off all the Apple devices to garnish some funds, right? But as I moved out of that and went into the to the next company, where it was no restriction, and plus after that when I started doing freelancing, and then now since I'm doing the content creation, I felt that Windows environment with Android was not really working out for me. Not from a software development point of view, just to be clear. Software development point of view, I think Windows still works, not a major issue, because a lot of the tools that I use on Mac even today, like VS Code and all, works better on Windows compared to Mac. But still, so the whole reason why I moved back to why I'm moving back into my Mac OS, Mac environment or Apple environment is purely because of the content management that I'm doing now. Plus, I also miss the ease on which devices worked with each other, right? Trackpad, your keyboard, iPhone, cut paste, clipboards, stuff like that, which I'll talk in detail in the next sections. I've started rebuilding my environment, as I think I said in the last thing. I mean, right now the centerpiece is my MacBook Air M2, which is the one on which I'm recording, and then I have the trackpad and my keyboard, which has come in. Now I'll be moving into my iPhone and my Apple Watch soon, right? So why am I switching? Not just me, I'm switching the entire family onto the Apple environment. Entire gamut will go into the Apple side of things over the next 2-3 months. There are a few reasons for that. We will talk through that. Okay. So Why did Android not work for me? That is the first question I would want to try to answer as a developer. Why it was not something that clicked for me after the mandated use in that organization, right? While Android offers power and flexibility, that is something that I think most of the people know. I found it at times draining my time and energy. So let me try defining it. There were too many ways to do things. Device to device inconsistencies were there. Like, I mean, from my HP laptop that I had, getting a phone call if it comes on my S23, yes, it would come onto that particular thing, but it was not consistent. It would sometimes come, sometimes not come. Sometimes the messages, definitely messages were coming, but that was inside an app called PhoneLink, I think. Yeah, PhoneLink. That is where it was working. Everything was coming in there, and it was so cluttered that I never used it, to be very honest. Except I think a couple of times, because I was used to having my phone linked to my iPhone linked to my Mac. It was so convenient that I thought I'll try it out, but it didn't work. Cut paste works sometimes it didn't work. Copy paste, continuity, stuff like that were not there. Then there was one more thing that I felt as a iPhone user for almost 7-8 years. I was using iPhones. So though S23, Samsung's S23 is very powerful. It is not that it is not powerful. It had all the features that sort of your iPhone had. Any Android phone that, if there is an Android phone that can give a good challenge to iPhone, it is definitely the Samsung's Galaxy series, S23 being one of those. Right. So what I felt was like the app behavior changed based on brand. I mean, that is what I felt, right? I mean, so okay, let me try giving an example, right? So as I said, my entire family was on the iPhone system, right? So I had an iPhone 15, my wife had an iPhone 14, my kids had iPhone 14. They also had an iPad. Both the kids had iPad. My wife had a MacBook Air. I had a MacBook Pro, as I mentioned. I had an iPad also. My wife didn't, but still. And they also had, all of them had AirPods and watch. So one good thing that I had with that was being the tech guy in the house, and my daughter was the backup tech person in the family. Though she's not there anymore, but still, in terms of the backup. So if I couldn't, if I was busy, she could solve the problem for the family with the same device, right? Because I had trained her to able to use or support my wife and my son, who are not that tech savvy guys. So it was easy because in all the devices it was same, consistent, right? So if my son had a problem with his iPad, my daughter would know how to handle that, because the iPad that she was using and his iPad, though a generation different, they had almost the same features. So she was able to help him with that. Same way with the iPhones, she could even help her mother. She could even help the installation on MacBook, because they almost work similar to the iPad, right? If I'm not around. But if I am to do something, I could do it for everybody very easily. The family sharing option that is there, that was really good in Apple, including find my person, find my devices. I could monitor all the devices. I can see where the devices are, notifications, because it's a family, it was all connected, right? Sharing the apps and defining the screen time and all those things work flawlessly, right, on Apple side. Whereas when we moved to Android, I took an S23, my wife was on Redmi, my son was also on Redmi first, my daughter was also on Redmi or some other device, I don't remember. I think it was Redmi only. They were all different. all worked in a different manner. The features were different. And of course, when you're talking about connectivity, the device that the app, the Windows versus this thing, again, it was different, a bit different from what it was. It was not consistent. Messaging was a big problem. So let's say if they are on their iPads, all of them were on iPads. My son and daughter had S9 also, which is Samsung's tablet version. So one major problem that we saw was messaging. We were not using Samsung's messages because we were using Google RCS. Google RCS was not consistent with all of them at that time. Of late, they have made it better, but 2 years back, it was not that good. It didn't work well on the tabs, and Windows, it doesn't even have an option, right? I mean, you have an option, but it's a long route going through probably a browser and then using it on the browser level, not like a native app like what you have an iMessage, right? And then the connectivity that I had with my friends who were on iOS at that time still, sorry, stuttering a bit today, but yeah, so they were on iOS, that connectivity went off. Yes, there are options like you can use WhatsApp and all those things. India, it is big, I know WhatsApp is big, but still that continuity between devices was much better. Even the WhatsApp app that was there on Mac or on even in your iPads and all was much better than what you have in the Windows side of it, the WhatsApp that you have, right? But now they have caught up. I mean, it's not that they have not caught up. The applications work well, but still the communication between the devices is pretty bad. One major problem that I found was using the TWAs, right? So if I have a TWA which is on iOS, which is basically nothing but our the one that we use for connectivity AirPods, right? It would seamlessly jump between all the devices. Whereas in Android, I am using Galaxy Buds, but they are not as seamless as AirPods. They work well. It's not that they don't, but they don't automatically jump between devices like what happens in the in our Apple ecosystem. And then you have got the watch, though Galaxy Watch is good, but it is nowhere near to the Apple Watch in terms of the user interface. The consistency and the way the user interface works, it's a different game altogether, right? The final thing that is really killing me with Android is the delay in updates. So eventually my wife and my son, they moved to the M series on Samsung. I think M35 or M36. That's the series that they are on right now. I am still on S24. So credit where due. The Samsung's S23, even today, it works well. No doubts with the OS update that they have given. But the problem was like the time it took for the updates to come. It really took a lot of time to come in. And I normally use beta. On beta program itself, I join in with my Mac OS, like the MacBook Air that I am recording it on right now. It is on the Mac OS 26 developer beta. That came the day Apple announced it. The beta program came in immediately, right? And I was right from the beta 1. I have been on the Mac OS 26, and when I get my iPhone, I'm obviously going to be on the beta program on that too, right? So why it is important for me? It is important because as a developer and as a content creator now, but more as a developer, I do create some apps and stuff like that. for me, building Apple apps quickly and deploying it becomes easier if I am getting the latest beta faster, right? Okay. Whereas in on the Android side for my S23, it took ages, and then I went into beta, and now I could not get the beta directly, so I had to sideload it, and now moving back again into the mainstream is a pain. It's a pain in the butt. Seriously, it takes a lot of effort to actually move it back into the normal cycle, right? So that is one of the problems that I have seen with the Samsung side, Android side in general, right? So I mean, basically, for me as somebody who is trying to stay productive and focused, that friction adds up, and I end up spending more time in managing my tools than doing my work when this sort of a thing happens, right? So yeah, so that is what it is, right? So this is, as I said before, this is not a hater. I'm just giving an honest opinion. I'm not against Android. I think I admire the companies like Samsung, OnePlus, that they have done OnePlus right from the beginning. I have been following them. I even had a OnePlus device when they initially launched it. Android serves millions of people well, no issues. I mean, they are really good at that, especially those who love control and customization. But for someone like me, who's a developer who wants a clean, unified, and seamless experience, I think Android falls short in a lot of ways, right? So here is what I think Android can do to fix it also. I mean, this is my thought. Again, as a developer, I'm talking. Unify their core UX across devices, right? Google should probably set strict UX standards for all their OEMs, right? I know it's an open source sort of a thing, but not just the UI themes, but probably the user flows, the gestures, the performance expectations, all that. They should probably set it as a standard, standardize the updates, work with the manufacturers to deliver timely updates. Probably universal OS and security updates is important. So Google does do a good job in releasing their update to Pixel quickly, right? But a good example is the one that is there right now on Samsung. It took a lot of time. I mean, it took like 6 months after Google had launched the latest version of Android. It took a lot of time for Samsung to come out with an update. Some of the other devices got it faster, like probably OnePlus and all. They did it faster, but Samsung took a lot of time for that, right? Tighter ecosystem integration is something that probably they can work on. Build stronger continuity across Android tablets, phones, Chromebook, the smartwatch. The same way like Apple does right now. It syncs flawlessly. It's a technology that they can also adapt, just that they have to probably take a step back and then look at it and then start probably rebuilding their baseline on that, because continuity, I think, is important. They probably have to work not just with Chromebooks, they also have to work with Windows, because people who are using Android tablet, Android phone and a smartwatch, they normally don't use Chromebook. I mean, from what I know of, at least what I have seen, I mean, they are using Windows, and that integration with Windows is probably not up to the mark at this point. Probably Windows also has got an app store, so probably launch something like iMessenger there, right? Which Google takes control of, and then probably integrate it there, or probably work with Microsoft and get Teams to work like an iMessage. Could be, right? I mean, that instead of having a phone link app and all those things, Microsoft Teams could become that central piece, like what you have in the Mac side of things. You have your iMessages, email, stuff like that. So probably take Teams as the iMessage equivalent or Microsoft Outlook as the core for the email integration and stuff like that. They can do that. Smarter defaults empower the user with settings which are standard, right? But give that everyday user a clean, intuitive default, right? I mean, you can still do customization. You can leave it there, like what Apple does. In some cases, they have that developer updates. There are some settings that you can go deeper, but probably set some smart defaults which can easily be set up. Samsung is doing that with the skin on top, right? I mean, in the sense, whatever skin they have, they are trying to get it to the same level as what or their OnePlus One UI that they have. They are trying to get there, but for a regular user or even a simple user like me, who just wants it to flawlessly work, there are too many choices, and it can create chaos for them, right? So that's one thing that I can do. I mean, I think they can do, right? Developer and creator focus that I think is missing in Android, big way. Provide better tools for creators and devs. Camera apps with pro controls, continuity with editing tools, and stable recording, stable screen recording right out of the box. Fix these things. I think then Android can truly become Apple's rival. The problem is basically Android has got a lot of things, but they are not stitched together right now. There are things that are there here and there, but they're not stitched together, unlike Apple, right? That is my 2 cents on the whole thing, right? My final thoughts on this is basically like tech should serve you, not stress you out, right? I mean, that is what my motto is always, and that is what I have learned. And while building my softwares that I build, right, after trying both these worlds, I believe that that is where Android actually fails, right? If you, again, I mean, the closing point for me is basically, if you are deciding between these platforms, I spoke about it in my previous video on the ecosystem, you should probably be looking at only 3 things. For when I looked at these 3 things, Apple ecosystem is what is solving my problem, probably not for you, right? Does this tool help me create better as a content creator? And does this simplify my daily activity? Like I'm being a coder, does it simplify my activity? Does it bring peace in chaos for me, right? I mean, these are the 3 things I look at it, because so many devices, like you have got a phone, you have got a watch, you have got a laptop, you have got an iPad, all these are required, right? As a developer, as a content creator, all these are required. So I look at it whether these will work together and give me peace, or they will not play together, right? I do a lot of reading, I do create content, I do coding also. So when I'm reading, I'm going to use my iPad, obviously, right? I mean, that is a easier thing, probably for gaming a bit. iPad, probably I'll be using it. My normal iPhone is going to be more like my quick response tool, which can do probably quick browsings for me, and then probably take content from one place to move to another place, like my laptop and stuff like that, like taking a photo, moving it there. Yes, it is still there in Windows. I'm not saying in the Android environment. You can use Google Photos on your Android device. It will go to your Windows on the browser. You can go and pick it up from there. It's not that it is not there. I'm saying that ease. You just have an AirDrop or something of that sort, which is there in Apple, which is like minutes, right? Which doesn't work that way in in the Android environment. For God's sake, even the if you take a Windows laptop, you have so many options of security, like face scan and fingerprinting and PIN and all those things. But what I have seen is, if you take one misstep on the laptop, you would not have all that basic features working. Like, I mean, the laptop that the company gave me, it doesn't have a fingerprint, and also it doesn't have facial recognition because the camera doesn't support it, right, of the laptop. Whereas that is not the case with your Apple World, though it is costlier. I mean, I would not say it is costlier. If you take a MacBook standalone and then you look for similar price device on this side, on the Windows side, you would still see that it is not working as seamlessly as Windows a MacBook would work, right? I mean, like if you walk away wearing a watch, the system automatically locks. It's still not possible on an Android Windows environment. You have got a Wear OS watch, you've got Windows. If I'm walking away, I want to lock my laptop. Doesn't work. I mean, it does work, but it doesn't work, right? I mean, you have to actually get a third-party tool or a Bluetooth and stuff like that. It is not like that in Mac. You pair it with your Apple ID, and it works. It just works, right? So those are the things. I mean, these 3 pointers. When I looked at it, I felt like Mac is a better option for me. As in the Apple environment is a better option for me, and hence I'm going back to the Apple environment. Might be I'll come back to the Android environment when things are better, but right now I think it is Apple that is there. Yeah, so for me the answer point, as I said, is back to Apple, but for you it might be different, and that's your choice. That is your call. Again, this is not a tech war video, right? Whether Android is better or Apple is better, or Android is good or Apple is good. I just gave my pointers on what Android can do better. In the process, probably I also spelled out what works for me in the Apple environment, right? So yeah, so that is all. Okay, this is that's all from me in this video. This is Menon Thoughts signing off. Until we connect again, keep learning, keep caring.